All right. First, I'd like to welcome you to the SleepSat training workshop. My name is Heath. I am the support personnel here at Patient Safety. And today we'll be going over a couple of things. The first thing I'd like to start with is the resource page, which has all of the content that we've prepared for you as the patient safety customer. Specifically, we're going to be going over where the connection center can be located and downloaded, and a patient video. And near the end of the video, webinar, we'll also go over some SleepSat best practices that can be found on that resource page. After that, we're going to go into how to download from the SleepSat using the connection center. And once we've got a report downloaded, at that point, we're going to move on to the SatCloud web portal. Some of the features that some of you may be already familiar with, but some that we've recently added that I really think can improve the screening process in your office. And lastly, like I said, we'll be going over the SleepSat best practices document that can be found on that resource page. All right. Well, to get started, I'm going to bring up that resource page that I've talked about a decent amount already. Here on our website, in the top bar, just select resources. The first thing you're going to see is our SleepSat how-to video series. In this video series, we have a getting started with the SleepSat video, an installation video, a connection center use, SatCloud portal overview, and we're also adding more reporting centric videos. Be looking for that an RDI video coming out on Monday. And we also have a cycling time and a cycling severity video that's already out. Really, any questions that you have, I would encourage looking into this resource page. We do have a lot of documentation here of things that you might encounter while you're in the screening process. Again, we've got the video links here. We have some reporting examples here and some information on reading those reports. All of the publications that we've been involved with can be found here, and the use of the SleepSat high resolution pulse oximeter and the Konica Minolta, all of the manuals and guides can be found here on the resource page at the bottom as well. And we also have an FAQ and troubleshooting for both devices as well. There's a lot of things that you can come across when you're handing a device out to a patient, and these FAQs and troubleshooting can be really useful. Before moving on to the patient video, I do want to show another feature here on our website under more and then downloads. We do get asked pretty often if the SatScreen Connection Center can be on more than one computer, and it can. That can really improve the efficiency of your screening process in your office, as you know, if you're not having to sit down at the same computer every single time, if someone's handling another office process at that point. Here under downloads, we're looking for the Connection Center installer. If you hit download on that, then that'll just start that process. All that's going to be required is you click through two installation wizards, and then it'll be on your desktop. At that point, you're going to just hit options settings, and I'll show you that when we're in the connection center to get fully logged in. Same credentials you're already using on most likely your main machine, but that can be a really useful thing to just get the connection center on another computer. And again, we're just here under more downloads, and we're looking for that connection center installer download. But next, I would like to watch this patient video with you. We do recommend when passing out the SleepSat, watching this patient or watching this video with your patient, and making sure at the end of the video that they understand the full process. That can be a great way to catch any amount of the screening process that they don't understand. And this gives you an opportunity to explain it without having to repeat yourself 50, 60 times. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this. And I'll be pausing it at a couple places just to really hammer home some points.
An oximetry test has been ordered by your clinician to monitor your oxygen levels and heart rate while you sleep. There is no alarm on the SleepSat device, and it is not intended for real-time monitoring. For best results, remove nail polish. Avoid laying on the hand with the sensor, putting it above your head, or tucking it underneath a pillow. Turn the oximeter on only when you're in bed and ready to fall asleep. If the finger sensor irritates your finger, switch to a different finger.
So I'm going to take the time to point that out. That's a question that we get a lot, is what finger can the probe go on? It is any finger as long as it's secured properly onto that finger. I'm also going to take the time to speed up this playback speed just a little bit. I want to respect your time as best as I can and move through the, this has a bit of a soft cadence for the sake of the patient, but we do have quite a bit of content to get through today.
Charge device fully between nights. To begin, take out the patient instructions, finger sensor, and the SleepSat device. Remove your watch and any jewelry you are wearing as well. When you're ready to fall asleep, step 1. Plug finger sensor into SleepSat wrist unit.
All right, this is a really great time to point out, it's not the clearest in this video, and probably through Zoom compression, you're seeing it even less, but I would encourage you looking at this video and noticing that at the top, or what would be considered the top of the probe plug, there is a small notch or bump that fits into a notch at the top of the SleepSat female connector. We have been getting a couple of questions lately of if it can be plugged in the other way. It unfortunately cannot be. It always has to be plugged in so that notch and that bump match up.
Step 2. Put wristband on your non-dominant arm. Adjust to fit. Step 3. Insert one of your fingers into the sensor. Make sure your finger is inserted completely. Your fingertip should touch the end of the sensor.
All right, I do want to point out here, you can see at the end of the probe, there's a bump. Your finger should be touching that bump, not laying that bump down by having your finger sticking out of the other end of the probe. And your finger shouldn't just be floating around in the middle of the probe. It should be touching this small bump at the end of the probe. That'll ensure the best connection between the emitter here and the receiver here.
Step 4. Press N on the power button firmly until the display lights up. Lie still for 2 minutes before falling asleep. If the finger sensor comes off or is removed during the night, or if the wrist unit continually flashes SEN off, put the sensor back on, making sure your finger is inserted completely. Press the power button firmly until the display lights up. Step 5. In the morning, take the oximeter off. The oximeter will turn off automatically after 2 minutes.
A really concise way to say that is just have the patient take the finger probe off and the body of the SleepSat at the same time. If they unplug the probe, that's fine while it's recording, but there is a different order that we're going to have to go through to get that to connect, just because it's going to be searching for that data. And that's found in our best practices document that we'll be going over here later in the webinar.
If testing multiple nights, return the finger sensor to the carrying case for safe storage and plug the SleepSat into the USB charger. Charge the SleepSat for 4 to 6 hours, then repeat the test the next night. At the scheduled drop-off time, return all equipment as instructed by your healthcare provider.
All right. Thank you for watching that with me. I apologize that you had to listen to my voice even more, but I do recommend having your patient watch that with you. It is played it back at normal speeds, only 3 minutes long. And at the end of that, if there's anything about wearing the device that they don't understand, they'll be able to ask you right then and there. But moving on, I would like to show how to connect the SleepSat device to the SAT Screen Connection Center. So I'm going to make my way back to my desktop. And as you can see, I don't currently have the Connection Center open. Now I'm actually going to start with the SleepSat in hand, and I'm going to hold down the power button on the unit until the display lights up and it says probe off, as it says right there. Once it says probe off, I'm then going to plug the micro USB cable connected to my computer already into the SleepSat body. You just heard that connect. Once you hear that connection noise, go ahead and just open up the SAT Screen Connection Center. You don't always need to follow that plug-in process, but that is going to give you the best connection and simplify your process. A little bit of my bandwidth is being taken up by Zoom, so it takes a little bit longer for the Connection Center to come up. But as you can see, the Connection Center is now syncing the device. If I take a look, and you probably can't see that, but if I take a look at the SleepSat body, it is counting down on the SleepSat screen. There's about 8 hours of recording on this unit. So that's about 65 that it's counting down from. We call them frames, so 65 frames. While this is syncing, I do want to take the time to, I said that I would show you how to log in. And to log in, you're going to hit options, and then settings. That'll bring up the login prompt. And like I said, you can log into as many computers as long as you have the Connection Center installed. That can be a great way to make your screening process more efficient in your office and not have to interrupt other processes. But it looks like our SleepSat has fully connected. As you can see, we've got 2 studies that have popped up here. To download a study, all that we have to do is enter the patient's first name. This is Thomas Doe. Luckily, he was born today. That makes it pretty easy to select, but that's all we have to enter for this patient is a first name, a last name, and a birth date. I'm actually going to select the longer of the 2 studies. And once I have the, again, first name, last name, and birth date, and the study I'd like to download checked, I'm going to hit Start Downloads in the bottom right. This normally takes between 30 seconds and a minute to get a study uploaded to our server. Our process is run, and then the PDF back downloaded. Is probably going to take a little bit longer right now just because Zoom's taking up some of my bandwidth, but we should get the PDF here pretty quick anyway. As you're going to notice, as soon as we get our PDF, I'm going to close it out. I'm going to close it out because the base data and the PDF are automatically saved to our SAT Cloud web server. So you can access that from any computer, any device by just going to our website, sleepsat.com, and in the top right, hitting SAT Cloud login. All right, as you can see, we've got our report. I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, just close out of that immediately. But before I move on to the SAT Cloud web portal, I do want to show you how to prep the device for your next patient. To prep the device, first I would recommend hitting Set Device Clock. You don't always need to do this, but it is just good practice to ensure that that device is set off of your computer clock. So I'm going to hit OK. It's going to take about 5 seconds. And then OK again. Next, I recommend hitting Clear Device Recordings. And that's going to look like hitting OK and OK again. This is my demo device. I'm going to hit cancel. But just having only one patient on the device at a time does make keeping track of the reports quite a bit easier. There are other ways to handle it, but I would recommend clearing the device after every single patient. So I'm going to hit cancel on that. And then to get to the SAT Cloud web server or web portal, you can just go to our website, which is sleepsat.com, and hit the login in the top right. Or here in the Connection Center, you can just hit View All Reports in the bottom right. The first thing you're going to see when you come to the SAT Cloud web portal is the patient screen. And here at the bottom, you can see Thomas Doe, who we just downloaded. But you can also search by first name or last name or both. and that's a great way to interact with your patient list. Next, I'd like to show you the reports list, which has every single report that you've downloaded in chronological order of the date of recording. So as you can see here, the most recent recording on this account is the report we just downloaded of Thomas Doe's. The next feature that I'd like to show you is our multi-night reporting. There is a specific patient that Mr. Charlie Smith, that I'd like to show you. As you can see here, Mr. Charlie Smith has 4 reports. And there are a couple of alerts in here that we'll go into in a second. But at the bottom of this is the patient screen. At the bottom of the patient screen, we have a multi-night reporting dashboard, which we can see the progression from August to December to January for this patient. We could see that if this was a titration, that this patient is improving, the titration is working. Or let's say the cycling severity graph was the entire report, that last bit of the titration made the patient worse. This is not a full report. I do recommend looking at the full report for every single patient, but this could be a great way to see the improvement or just progression of your patient. If you'd like a printout of this, you can just hit the multi-night PDF, and that should pop. Yep. And that'll give you a printable version and some more information in this multi-night report. I'll close out of that. But the next thing I'd like to go over, and this is actually a pretty good patient to go over it as well, is our alert system, which, as you can see here, Mr. Charlie Smith has a decent amount of alerts on his profile. The only alert that we don't see here is the moderate risk. The yellow triangle is mild risk. As we can see here is a 7 RDI on January 29th. That's a mild risk of sleep disordered breathing. And this filled in red triangle shows severe risk. The other features here in the alerts are post-op risk, and that combines information that can be found on the second page of the device into an alert if they're going to be a post-op risk. And this is really useful for our hospital customers. We also have an alert on this valid recording time on his January 30th study. And that's just showing that he doesn't have a 4-hour recording. And so that recording should be looked into a little bit more. These alerts aren't a full report, but they can be a great way to just see a snapshot of how your patients are doing. And if you're seeing a risk alert, then maybe looking into that patient a little bit more, continuing treatment with them is a good option. You can edit what marks as a mild, moderate, and severe alert, and that can be done here in the profile section of the SatCloud web portal by just scrolling down to the settings. We can make changes like here to the RDI if we want it to be 6 instead of 5. We can do that and just hit save changes here. I'm just going to reset that to default. And if you'd like more information on each of these alerts, I would recommend coming over here to this little eye on each of the sections to get more information on exactly what that means and some documentation on that as well. Some last things that I'd like to point out here in the SatCloud web portal is you can edit your profile information here in the profile section by just hitting this blue pencil, making your changes, and then the green save icon here. You can also do the same with your subscriptions. If you'd like to update your payment information, you can hit this blue plus sign, enter your card information, and then again, the green save. Lastly, I would like to point out, we have offices that you may want different logins for each computer, all accessing the same account. If you'd like to do that, it's pretty easy to do as an administrator. Just enter the person that you'd like to see added, their first name, last name, and their email. You can just add one real fast and then hit invite user. might not be a valid email. But there we go. As soon as that's added, you can then change that login's permissions using this drop down. A member can have upload access and can view all reports, but can't edit, let's say, the profile or the subscription. An admin has all of those privileges. And those can be changed at any time. The last thing that I want to go over actually just brings us back to the resource page. And again, I'm going to go back to our website and hit resources. Here at the SleepSat FAQ and troubleshooting, at the top is the SleepSat best practices. There's a couple of things that I'd like to highlight. I would recommend going through this entire document. I haven't touched on this today, so I do want to push this a little bit harder. Charging the SleepSat can be, is very, very important. And I do recommend charging it for an hour before downloading and charging it for a minimum of 4 hours prior to passing it out to a patient. If your patient is taking it for really more than one night, I do recommend having them charge it in between nights. Cleaning is something that's been coming up a little bit more lately with what's been going on in the world. And there is a whole list of approved cleaners for everything in the SleepSat carrying case, including the carrying case. But our number one recommendation is just wiping everything down with a 70% isopropyl alcohol wipe. Using those non-approved cleaners can degrade the silicone and the plastic. So I would recommend just using that 70% isopropyl alcohol wipe or viewing the SleepSat manual for that approved list of cleaners. It's actually on page 20. A question that we get pretty often is, what is the capacity of the SleepSat? The SleepSat holds 70 hours of data. And depending on how long your patient is sleeping, that's in between 5 to 6 nights. And as long as you're clearing it out in between each patient, you shouldn't have an issue with that capacity. We do have some troubleshooting here at the bottom of the best practices. And I do recommend going through this full document and going back to the resource page and viewing all of our FAQ and troubleshooting documenting on whatever device you have in your office. But at this point, I know I've just threw a lot of information at you. If you have any questions about the SleepSat or Sat Cloud or Sat Screen Connection Center, please feel free to use the hand raise function and come off mute. Or if you'd prefer, use the chat function, which I'll bring up now, to ask a question. I'll do my best to answer it. And if I can't, I luckily have our project manager, Amy, in the webinar today, and anything that I can't answer, she definitely can.
Okay, and I just want to thank Heath again for today. So Heath, if I understand, just to recap what we discussed today. So the resources in the downloads page has where they can download the Connection Center. We also have a patient video available on our website at sleepsat.com/patient video. And you recommend that they watch that patient video with the patient in office and then have the patient demonstrate that back to them to confirm understanding. And once the patient brings that back into the office, they can download that through that Connection Center app and either view the report directly there, or they can also look at it on that Sat Cloud portal. Is that correct?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you so much. And yes, any questions that anyone has, we're here to help.
And if you have any questions that aren't coming to mind right now, please feel free to reach out to us at our support line, which is support@patientsafetyinc.com, or give us a call, and I'll send out an email with all that contact information along with a recording of this webinar. with that recording, there is going to be a short survey. If you could take a minute to go through that, let me know what I can go through that's going to be useful for you. If I went through anything too fast, or if there's anything that I did not touch on that would improve the screening process in your office. We're constantly looking to improve here at Patient Safety, and I'd love to help you. But seeing no questions, thank you so much for joining me today. You all have a wonderful day.